Hear ye, come one, come all. I, like many of you, hate lists. Whether it has to be a to-do list, a list of reasons why we broke up, or classic 90s teen rom-com starring Julia Stiles, 10 Things I Hate About You. We hate lists. But we do like video game lists. So I've racked my brain to come up with my personal, and I mean my personal, top 20 favorite games of all time. List subject to change. Some of these will range from, oh yeah, well obviously, to
this sucks.
Yeah, it really sucks.
This sucks more than anything that has ever sucked before.
So let's start with my 3 honorable mentions. Honorable mention number 1, Little Big Planet. Oh, this was a banger. Do you hear me? A straight up banger. Little Big Planet dropped in 2009 and it was developed by Media Molecule, starring Sackboy, who has to travel from world to world solving puzzles, collecting various items and bubbles, and trying to stop the evil collector who has been stealing creations from people all across the world. And this is a fine, serviceable story mode. It has a nice vibe with the music and characters, and I used to love creating my own skin by painting all over Sackboy's body to look like Deadpool or Wolverine or something. But to be honest, this isn't what made me love this game. It was the freedom to create that made me love this game. The whole story mode was designed by an in-game studio that players had access to, and you can post the levels online that you made with that studio for the world to play. You could create races, puzzles, music, storyboards, anything. And you could just make entire levels, and everyone was just so original. My favorite thing is when people recreated popular video games like Metal Gear Solid and Shadow of the Colossus. I was always so impressed by that. And I will never forget how impressed I was and still am by all of this. Because I sucked. Because I don't have a single artistic bone in my body whatsoever. And the levels were endless. You just never ran out of new levels to play and things to do. And the best part is that most of the time, the creators will let you use your assets for your own creations. It was way ahead of its time. And above all, it was a fun game. So let's move on to honorable mention number 2, Red Dead Redemption. I honestly feel terrible. Well, I always do, but I honestly feel terrible about this game not making my list, seeing how it is one of the greatest games of all time, and the only thing stopping it from making my list is that I have some heavy nostalgia for some of my picks. And that kind of goes a long way for me, to be honest. With that being said, Red Dead Redemption is a phenomenal game starring John Marston, retired cowboy who wants to settle down and live a normal, considerably less violent life with his family. But before he can do any of that, he has to settle a score with his old gang. Things don't go well, so he gets kapowed and left for dead. So now, he's got to track down all of his former gang members once and for all. And I will never forget my first time playing this game and treating it like Grand Theft Auto by exploring everything, everywhere, and just wandering around. And I will remember I was walking around in the forest trying to find something interesting, and out of nowhere, a loud scream comes out, and a cougar struck me in the back and one-shot me, and I jumped out of that seat because that jump scare was so, it came out of nowhere. I thought my heart was going to explode in my chest. And because of that, I spent so much time going after the animals and hunting all of the legendaries and finishing all of the achievements and challenges. And there was just so much that you can do. And that's just outside of the main story. And lest we forget, it has one of, if not the most memorable ending to a video game ever. And I mean of all time. An ending that rivals many of the movies out there. So, yeah, If you haven't played Red Dead Redemption, all 4 of you, please play it. Number 1 still holds up. Which brings me to my final honorable mention, which for those of you that know me, this might come as a little bit of a surprise that this isn't on the list. Honorable mention number 3, Elden Ring. Ooh boy, I still can't believe that this game came out. Us Souls guys, you know, those people, never thought we'd see the day when the magnum opus from would descend from the heavens and bless us all. So the question is, was it worth it? Yeah, I think so, pretty much. If you're someone who likes to play Souls games because of the rush you feel when you finally beat the boss, or you just love to try out a myriad of different weapons to find that style that fits you best, well, Elden Ring has that in spades. That's the point of Elden Ring. But to be fair, Elden Ring has a lot of everything. Hell, maybe even too much depending on who you ask. There are hundreds and hundreds of bosses and weapons and unique weapon arts sprawled across the open world, and you can use them all, baby. I've done 5 playthroughs so far, and every playthrough has felt different from the last, which is a pretty hard thing to do, especially for Souls games, especially for the people like me who kind of go through all of the older ones the same way each time. But I digress. My most recent playthrough, I went armorless with 2 cold infinity infused gray stars, and once you reach a certain level, you can just mow through the bosses, and that, you just can't beat that, man. You can't. That thrill of fighting a boss that you once had trouble with and now you just destroy it, it's the best. Knowing that once upon a time they gave you a lot of trouble, but now you're the top dog, magnifique. So you might be wondering, why didn't this game make the list? Well, mainly because I haven't had years and years to sit with it like I've had every other game on this list. I've had a lot of time to really just grow with the other games, but I do think if I were to do this list again, I don't know, maybe a year later, let's see, maybe when the DLC comes out, it would probably make the list. So what did make this list that everyone will inevitably hate, no matter what? Let's find out. Oh, and before we start, I just want to give a quick shout out to a few underrated games that didn't make the list, but I love them deeply. They're like the honorable mentions to my honorable mentions. Those being Jet Li Rise to Honor, The Punisher, Hulk Ultimate Destruction, Ultimate Spider-Man, and god damn it, why is Mortal Kombat Shouting Monks not on my list? I am so sorry. If I do this list again, it's number 20. But let's continue. Number 20, Mario Kart Double Dash. I'm not the biggest fan of racing games. I really only like 3 of them. One of them you've probably never heard of in your life. Those being Burnout 3 Takedown and goddamn Kinetica and Mario Kart Double Dash, baby. It's not the best Mario Kart, but it is my favorite. I love the characters, the visual style, and the vibrant colors from all of the worlds. I love the feeling that I had when I play this game now. It reminds me to a simpler, much more fun time that I had with video games. And I don't know about you guys, but I actually really like the double character mechanic and how it added a new wrinkle to the tried and true Mario Kart formula. A big reason why it makes the list is because of how much fun it is to just pick up and play it. It was simple and straight to the point, and you can just play for hours and hours with your friends and family. This is a big nostalgia pick for me. Like, this is biased. That's why this is on the list. because I used to play this game endlessly, and I always pick Baby Mario, always, and Baby Luigi. And guess what, friends and family? I suck. I was and still am terrible at Mario Kart, but I had fun, and that's what's most important. Do you have fun? And Double Dash was definitely that. Fun. I mean, the music bumps, the stages are dope, the battle mode pisses off your friends. This game was all you needed back in 2003, and that really resonates with me. So much so that a racing game made it to my favorites of all time list, and deservedly so. So much so that I think anyone can still have fun playing this game now. If you can find a goddamn GameCube for less than $1 trillion, but whatever. Number 19, Pokemon Stadium. Yeah, hot take, but this is probably my favorite Pokemon game of all time. Let's see how I feel about Arceus in a couple of years, but yeah, this might be my favorite. I mean, you really have to be heartless to not feel some semblance of joy when that cheery music starts to play in the overworld. And I must say, for a non-mainline Pokemon game, there was so much to do, and so much was made immediately available to you. A great free battle mode with the narrator, who I love. The narrator was top tier. The way he would just shout out things like, "Charizard is frozen. What will he think of next?" That's my favorite line in this game. "Oh my god, he's fast asleep." I love it. There was also a dope stadium mode and an underrated gym leader council mode that lets you challenge the 8 Kanto leaders from the Game Boy games, along with the Elite Four and the champion, and you can just spend all day just doing this. But oh ho ho, my friends, we both know this is not why the game makes the list. It's the mini games, baby. Simple and sweet. They are the best. Legendary even. I am the best Magikarp Splash player in the world. I would put money on it. It's really my true calling. I really missed out doing the school thing. And to this day, I still have fun with the Clefairy Says mini game. You know it, you love it, maybe. Clefairy, 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 Clefairy. It's hilarious when you see someone fail in real time and get whacked repeatedly with the hammer. Man, what could be more nostalgic than this? It's the best. But let's move on to my favorite GameCube game of all time, which may or may not surprise you. Number 18, Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. Oh snap, one of the 2 Mario games I have made it on my list. We've got our hero, Mario, journeying to the town of Rogueport to save Princess Peach, who once again has been kidnapped, but not by Bowser this time, by an evil secret society called the X-Nauts. And on his journey, Mario must collect and stop the X-Nauts from collecting the several crystal stars that seal the Thousand-Year Door, harboring an ancient evil power. I love the Paper Mario combat mechanics. As someone who talks kinda iffy about JRPGs all the time, RPGs in general, I love this one. I love this game. I think it has the most likable cast out of any Mario game out there, and the game has genuinely funny and certainly fun moments. I love Rockhawk. I do. This is one of, if not my most favorite character in all of Mario. Please put him in more things. But no, really, this game is great. Have you ever done the Earth move and hit all of the button prompts without missing? It's crack, baby. When you really get into this game and learn how to map out the badges and correctly time all of the moves, it's just a fun, funny game with great vibes. I'm all about vibes, man. I am all about vibes. I even love the bit of Luigi boring you to sleep, telling you a story about the quest that he's on. And honestly, it should have been made into its own Paper Mario game. Whatever, hopefully it's not too late. Let's move on to number 17. Number 17, Persona 4 Golden. Ah yes, the other Persona game. The one that doesn't make you sad and not the one with the really good music. I wasn't sure I was gonna like this game when I first got around to it. But somehow, like halfway through the game, kind of like when I first played Dark Souls, everything clicked for me and I realized that I loved it. And I love the soundtrack. Don't get me wrong. It's not 5, but I love the soundtrack. Heartbreak. Come on, I love it. It's about Yu Narukami, a teenage boy sent to live with his uncle Dojima and his cousin Yamato. And that's a Yamato? I'm tripping. Too much anime. And cousin Nanako. He grows to make friends at his new school, and one day one of his friends named Yosuke tells him about the Midnight Channel, which is a TV channel that appears only if you stare at an off TV on a rainy day, and it shows a mysterious figure, and our teenage heroes embark on a murder mystery related to this channel. I love this game. It's the usual Persona formula, with some changes here or there. You collect personas, you fuse them, you gain new moves, and all the like. It's so fun to see how many you can get and how if I combine this and this with this and this. It's just really satisfying to put in that work, and I genuinely think the story is pretty good. It's probably better than Persona 5 story, to be honest. And it's nice to see all of the character growth and all of the things they have to face as they find out more and more about the murder mystery, as well as uncovering all of the twists and turns along the way. And also, I don't know if I said this, the soundtrack is dope. Come on, Heaven? Heaven is a top 10 Persona song. It's a top 5 Persona song. I remember because people got mad at me when I said that. Anyway, number 16, Portal. Yeah, I get it. Put down the pitchforks. Portal should probably be higher. It's one of the most innovative games of all time. And not just because of the portal mechanic itself, even though it's great, still holds up. It's insane to think no one has thought of how portals will work in a puzzle game to that degree before. But the way the story unfolds is why this is on my list. It's damn near like a FromSoft game or Shadow of the Colossus or something, in that you play the entire game and can completely miss the story. But what you can't miss is GLaDOS and all of her evil snarkiness, to the point where I was reading magazines around this time that was saying GLaDOS might be the greatest video game villain ever. I was in the Sears when this game came out, and I remember reading that and was thinking, oh yeah, I can kind of see it. Her voice is very cold, robotic, and lifeless. You know, it's how. But as the game goes on and you pass more and more of the Aperture Lab tests, the more you start to realize that GLaDOS might be sentient. Not only sentient, but sadistic. But not only sadistic, but also really, really funny.
Congratulations. Not on the test. Most people emerge from suspension terribly undernourished. I want to congratulate you on beating the odds and somehow managing to pack on a few pounds.
And all of this for a game where you shoot a blue hole, go through it, and come out of an orange hole. But to think how they took that concept and the concept of GLaDOS and made it into something truly great brings this game to number 16 on my list. Which brings us to number 15 on my list. And boy, oh boy, it's time to get some wrestling up in here. Number 15, WWF No Mercy. So, verdict's out. I'm a huge, or at least I was, huge wrestling fan. I might know like 5 current wrestlers as of right now. I am very far removed from my wrestling fandom. But that late 90s to late 2000s era of wrestling was my jam. With the exception of video games, a few anime, wrestling might have been my top fandom as a wee lad. And boy, this game right here, this game right here was right in my wheelhouse back then. It has my favorite wrestlers, my favorite themes, and all of the wrestlers had the special moves that I love seeing so much. And the combat was perfect, to be honest. I love the old Aki engine. I wish it stuck around longer in games. I loved it in Dead Jam Vendetta, bro. I love this game. It's a perfect pick up and play wrestling game for any wrestling fan. And to think that there are hundreds and hundreds of wrestling games now, and this little blocky wrestling game from the late 2000s is widely looked on as being one of, if not the greatest wrestling game of all time. A lot of people now still think that it is the best, which is why it's on my list, because it's still dope to me and it's still dope to a lot of other people. And honestly, if you were to play it right now today, it's hard to argue. But time to move to a little bit more controversial pick. Number 14, SpiderMan II. Whew, this is rough. 10, 11-year-old me would have easily put this game in the top 5. It was a huge moment in my video game life, to the point where I still remember every single level, every single mission, every single character down to a T. I remember thinking at the time, the swinging is amazing. It still is, albeit a little bit dated. I thought it was amazing. When the game hits its peak, when the background music hits while you're swinging and you get those Spider-Man horns. However, I played the game again this year, and although I still love it, still think it deserves to be on my list, it doesn't quite hit the same as it did then. It's a lot shorter than I remember, and there's really not much to do aside from the story. But it's still really fun and inventive at moments. I like how it threw everything at the wall. I love all of the Mysterio stuff. It's still great. The fake boss fight, the alien hologram fight in the theater, the scale of you just swinging to the top of the Statue of Liberty with like the giant green force field over there. All of this still hits the same way to me. Hell, going into Quentin Beck's apartment and fighting the clowns is enough to get this game on the list. So you can consider this a nostalgia pick, but a nostalgia pick that still deserves a spot on my list. There's so much fun to be had, even if it's not better than Marvel Spider-Man. No way, Jose, not at all. So yeah, let's leave this old game and go to an even older game. Number 13, Metal Gear Solid 1. What a thrill. No, let's save that for later. Metal Gear Solid 1. What a fantastic game. As far as games from the 90s goes, Metal Gear Solid 1 holds up. And I don't mean it kinda holds up, or it holds up well, all things considered. I still love this game. However, it's kind of hard to explain in a few sentences why I love this game and just the Metal Gear Solid series as a whole. It's an iconic stealth game starring the legendary soldier Solid Snake, who was brought out of retirement to sneak into a secret Alaskan fortress to save the high-ranking hostages and prevent a nuclear weapons launch. The game is just fun. What can I say? It just feels different from the other games with the way that the story progresses and the way the characters talk to each other. Metal Gear Solid 1, like the later ones, just has this perfect mix of real-life covert espionage and completely wackadoo supernatural nonsense. And I do love it dearly. Plus, it's so memorable when it comes to boss fights. And I'm a sucker for boss fights, as you will see later. And the bosses themselves, woo child. It has one of, if not the most iconic boss, not on the PS1, not in this era, in all of video games, with Psycho Mantis, with the iconic memory card reading bit. You've been playing Super Mario Sunshine, haven't you? Come on, dog. The game isn't perfect. And the backtracking is and always will be super whack, but the game is still great. It's amazing, and yet it's not even the best Metal Gear game. Which brings us to number 12, Budokai Tenkaichi 3. This was almost Borderlands 2. Oh yeah, baby, it's time for the best Dragon Ball Z game. The best, I say. Do you hear me? It's better than Budokai 3. It's better than DBZ Fighters. It's better than Blues Fury, and it's better than Legacy of Goku 2. But I will say, those might be my second and third favorite Dragon Ball Z game, all things considered. But never mind that. You know how people say Marvel Spider-Man really makes you feel like Spider-Man, and how Arkham City really makes you feel like Batman? Well, Tenkaichi 3 really makes you feel like Goku. It just perfectly hits all of those things that you love about Dragon Ball Z. The fast-paced fighting, the transformations, the beam struggles, the huge planet-destroying moves. Tenkaichi 3 nails all of this. But what puts it above the others is the roster. There's a whopping 93 characters in this game, and if you count transformations, it's 161 characters. Can you imagine a game doing that now? Nowadays, you'll get 30 characters at the most, and the rest will be $7.99. Honestly, you probably have to pay $7.99 to just get the legendary Super Saiyan version of Broly. I really hope Tenkaichi 3 is as dope as I think it's going to be. I really do. I really, really, really do. Number 11, Super Mario Galaxy. Oh boy. Here it is. This took some thinking, but really not that much. This is my favorite Mario game of all time. Full stop. Super Mario Galaxy is such a vibe. You want to talk about a Mario game that's just oozing with charm and inventiveness? Well, this is the one. Between the well-designed levels and the moody yet triumphant sounding orchestra that's always playing in the levels, you have a game that, while having the core basics of a Mario game, really sets out to do something different. It really feels like Super Mario Galaxy was the game that the Wii was created for in the first place. And the game is just fun. It's almost relaxing going through all of the puzzles using the new gravity mechanics as the orchestra plays in the background. However, the game is easy. The game is definitely easy. Sure, there might be some tricky parts here and there, but the game is easy as a whole. But maybe I'm just being biased because still is my favorite Mario game. But the slow, easy pace really adds to the aesthetic of the whole game to me. Just makes the game feel spacey, which is a stupid word to use, but maybe that makes sense to you, who knows? And I like that quite a bit because everything in the game just adds to this aesthetic for me. Even the beautiful hub world called the Comet Observatory adds to this aesthetic as well. It's a Mario game that had an idea and perfected it. And yeah, number 2 is good too. Which brings me to my top 10. This is another game that was originally higher on my list. Number 10, Persona 5. Woo! This was number 5 on my original incarnation of this list. And before that, I had this game as high as number 2. And this holds the distinction of being the most recent game on my list, as far as me being pretty late to the Persona party, because I was all like, ew, JRPG? No thanks, brother. But then I played 3 hours of it every night after a busy and stressful workday, and I found myself pouring more and more time into every aspect of it, grinding and raising my confidant levels, feeling this persona with this persona to get this persona with this affinity. And it just became part of my day, grinding through palaces, praying to run into a save point because it's 4 a.m. and I really need to sleep. Even the story of a teenage boy rebelling against powers way above him with his friends, I just love all of it. Yeah, man, the game is dope. But the music, dog, the music, they'll make me start singing. And I need Lynn, I don't know how to say her last name, Lynn Inazumi, to marry me. What is she, like 7, 8 years older than me? We can make it work, yo. I promise. Anywho, gameplay was fun and inventive. If you don't like RPGs, if you don't like JRPGs, this might be the one to get. The music is so good. Bro, what? The game is oozing with style. Oozing with style. That was very unique to itself. A style that Persona 3 and Persona 4 didn't quite have, especially Persona 3, but 5 had so much of. And next up is a game that also has style, but a very different kind of style, if I do say so myself. Also, could someone please buy me the Persona 5 soundtrack on vinyl? I really want it. Whatever. Number 9. Let's get it. Number 9. Sly Cooper 1. Hell yeah, brother. Sly Cooper 1 has to be crafted on Mount Olympus by Zeus himself. Because this is peak early 2000s business right here. I'll never forget hearing absolutely nothing about this game. But then I got the goddamn 2002 jam-packed demo disc. I think it's called the Winter 2002 disc. It had Wild Arms 3, OG Ratchet and Clank, and of course Sly 1. And I would just play it over and over and over and over again. And when I finally rented the game from Hollywood Video, for those of you that remember Hollywood Video, I would just sit and play it for hours and hours on end. It's one of the few games out of like maybe 3 or 4 that I can just beat all in one sitting. I can beat all of it right now. And the time it takes for me to make this video, I can beat all of Sly 1. It's just so good. It's such a short and simple game. Nice and sweet with good music and boss fights. Likeable characters and dialogue with just funny things to quote. Like my friend knows I'm gonna bring this up. When you do the mugshot boss fight, and he says this line that I unknowingly quote to my friends all the time. How does it go? My beautiful guns are destroyed. Good thing I've got a spare upstairs. I say this all the time. It's so stupid. It's not funny. I love it. The game is just tight. No complaints. So while this might be kind of a nostalgia pick, it's a nostalgia pick that holds up. And here's the big shocker. I don't even think this is the best Sly Cooper game, bro. No way, Hosey. That's Sly 2 Band of Thieves. But the charm and vibe Sly 1 has is unmatched. Next is my favorite sports game ever. You could probably guess this, that many people around my age will consider to be their favorite. So let's get on with it. Number 8, NBA Street, Volume 2. I am a huge nerd, a dork even. I like anime, I like Batman comics, and by Jove do I love my video games. But hear me, dear viewer, hear me good. I'm a new age nerd that likes more cliche, quote unquote, manly things, sports and such. When I tell you that this is my favorite sports game on earth, you hear me and you hear me good. Everything to a minute detail about this game is goated. Gameplay is the perfect combination of simple and flashy. Anyone can pick up and play this game and immediately pull off all of the flashiest moves there are to offer. The roster is great. It's full of all of my favorite 2002 All-Stars. You know me, big basketball guy. And the music, the music has a core memory in my brain. It has the perfect funky underground New York street ball vibe you're looking for. The game just feels like Rucker Park. It feels like And One, Skip to My Lou, Hot Sauce, and all of those guys. And the intros are the best ever. Full stop. Forget genre games. It's the best. You turn on the game to the beautiful P-Rock, They Reminisce Over You horns. I can't play it out loud because YouTube would hate that, but you know it. And all just feels right in the world. The game is all vibes and flash, man. And you could tell that the devs set out to capture a specific mood, and they had the perfect visuals, music, and gameplay for that mood. I can't even say that I'm nostalgic for this game because I still play this game all the time. I just beat it again like a month ago. And to say that it holds up is almost insulting it because that was never out of the question. If 2K is annoying you, then turn this on and I promise you'll be having fun in no time. But for the next entry, we have a pretty special game. A game that used to be my non-debatable number one pick all time as a 16-year-old boy. And that game is number 7, Batman, Arkham City. Oh my god, 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 it's Arkham City time. I love this game. At the time, I thought this was the closest you can get to perfection in every aspect of gaming. The traversal, the combat, the story, the bosses, the stealth, the side content. I thought all of this was like a 9.9 out of 10, with certain things being straight up 10s. Like the bosses. I genuinely believe that the Mr. Freeze boss fight is one of the top 25, push it higher, one of the top 12 boss fights of all time. The way he adapts to every move you do that causes damage, and that sense of panic you get trying to find a way to attack him, because this monster would destroy you if he so much as sees you. Amazing. I'm hyperventilating just thinking about how good this game is. This game is very dope still. And the voice acting, come on, Mark Hamill, Kevin Conroy, rest in peace, perfection. That's my Batman. And as someone who loves the Batman lore, it was nice seeing the smaller guys in the rogues gallery, like Mad Hatter and Victor Zsasz, and all of the fighting and detective work you have to do to get to them. It's so good. And the game doesn't have that claustrophobic just one bad day feel of Asylum or the finality of Arkham Knight, but it truly exceeds in everything else. And with that, we finished rank 7. And honestly, rank 7 to 2 are interchangeable for the most part. All of these could be my all-time favorite game if I were to do the ranking again. Well, close to being my all-time favorite. My number 1 right now seems pretty etched in stone the more I think about it. However, if I were to do this ranking again, some of these placements would change. And with that being said, let's move on to my number 6. Number 6, Shadow of the Colossus. This is heavy. This is a very tricky game to talk about, right? Out of the hundreds of people that I know in this world, a grand total of 1 person has played this game. It's a game that no one has played, but also somehow needs no introduction. This is the game that spearheaded the art video games art debate. I love this game to death. It's conceptually so interesting to me, and there's so much story that may or may not be there, and the majority of it is inferred. Conceptually, I just love games like that, which is, might be why I like Dark Souls. And the only thing you know is that you play as Wanda, and he has this dead woman that he wants to be revived, and the disembodied voice says that if he will revive her if you destroy the 16 Colossi. And that's it. That's the game. There's like 3 total cutscenes in the beginning, middle, and end. There's no mini bosses or trash mobs. There's really nothing to do in between fighting the Colossi. There's nothing. The whole game is just you and your thoughts. It's just you fighting Colossi and then traveling to another Colossi. It's really just a boss rush designed as a game. But if I tell you that there's one thing that this game truly excels at, it's scale. This is the game that has perfected scale. You are this short kid who isn't a warrior by any means, with his tiny horse and tiny sword going toe to toe with these colossi that are the size of entire levels themselves, and the game perfectly displays just how outmatched you are. Online, although it's kind of debatable, people say that Wanda is a little over 4 feet, maybe like 4'1", and at its largest, one of the Colossi is about 157 feet. Some of them have no visible weaknesses, and some fly, some go underground, and you have to scale these massive beings. And that feeling you get, because this is a game that you can't explain out loud, it's all just feeling and how you interpret your emotions while playing. But there's this feeling that you get when you and your tiny MC is holding on to a flying stone bird with the triumphant music blaring, and it's trolling and flying upside down. You spend the whole game having this thought that you are way out of your depth. You are in over your head, but you have to see this thing through. It's beautiful. Or when you fight the giant stone soldier Gaius, and he awakens with his giant sword, and as he stands up and you're far away from him, when he gets up, you see how tall, like how massive it really is. The game, if I were to like explain it in one word, it's majestic. It's really hard to sell this game though, and honestly, you just have to play it for yourself. Some people are gonna play this game and hate it. I'm gonna be honest with you. The only thing keeping this ranking low is that you can't experience it for the first time twice. Just, make it up to the third Colossi and watch some theory videos. There's true magic happening here, but this video is taking longer than I thought, so let's get going to number 5. Number 5, Dark Souls 3. Yo, it is the one and only Dark Souls game on the list, and boy is it high. This is my favorite Souls game of all time, and I think about that question a lot. This is my favorite. It just is. It's the one that I play the most. It's the game where if I don't feel like playing a new game, then I'm gonna knock out a quick Dark Souls 3 playthrough, you know? I just love the Dark Souls lore and what Dark Souls 3 adds to it. And I love the various weapons you can use, even the broken ones. I will always love getting the Sword Twin Blades, putting all my points in decks, and just melting through the bosses. And the bosses are what really get this game this high to me. You know, the bosses are why this game is this high on the list. It has the best bosses in the franchise, full goddamn stop. Nameless King, goated. Sister Freed, goated. Midir, goated. Gale, goated. This game goes 100% at the free throw line with bosses. It bats 1,000. Even when they are stressing you the hell out, it's the best. The fact that Freed has 3 phases and the hardest phase is the final phase, and they all just wreck you. It sounds terrifying, but then everything clicks. You know, it's the Dark Souls formula. Everything clicks at some point, and through the skin of your teeth, you beat her, or you beat Midir, or you beat Nameless. And that feeling of euphoria you get after beating them, after banging your head against the wall for so long, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it in games, really. It's the phenomenon that Souls perfected. But to me, this is the game where From Software did it best. So crank up that Vati video, get those twin blades ready. This was my first Souls game, and I hated Souls games until I really sat down and played this all the way through. Maybe this game could change your mind too, but that's for another video. Because the next game, I am sure 97.8% of you did not see this coming and will not see this coming. Number 4 is Def Jam Fight for New York. I was a big Tekken Tag Tournament guy, and I am a huge Smash guy. I play a lot of Ultimate. I know the combos and moves and all of the technicalities. I know the players, huge Smash nerd, and this is by far my favorite fighting game of all time. And of all the games on my list, this is the game that I'm most wanting a sequel for. If you haven't heard of it, which maybe you haven't, I don't know how old some of you are. It's a fighting game where the roster is made up of famous rappers, singers, actors, and models and such. The only game where Snoop Dogg can fight Busta Rhymes, Redman, and Uncle Machete from Spy Kids. The roster is insane, and the entire customization is equally as insane. But what's really underrated is how deep the combat is. There's 5 fighting styles: street fighting, martial arts, wrestling, kickboxing, and submissions. And you can pick up to 3 of them at once, and your build will mix all 3 of them into one complete fighting style. And each fighting style, whether you keep 1 or mix 2 or mix 3, excels offensively or defensively in a particular thing. Like kickboxing has the best knee strikes, and martial arts is the quickest but has the best overall strike defense, and wrestling is slow but it has good health and excels in grapple moves. The combat is just deep, and the special moves are flashy. I love the blazing moves. I love this game. I can also quote all of this game. I know this game by heart too. Like, actually, I know this game like it's a religion. There are 30 different combined fighting styles to choose from, and with that, every time you play this game, a different experience every time. What more can you ask for? And can we please have a sequel to this game already, so I can do Eminem versus Kanye West or something? I really want this game. But alas, we march on to the top 3 with my 3rd favorite game of all time. This used to be number 1 too. Still could be. I really gotta think about it. Number 3, Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater. What a thrill, with darkness and silence through the night. What a thrill, I'm searching and I'm melting to you with a fear in my heart, but you are so supreme. I give my life not for honor, but for you. In my time, there'll be no one else. Cry is the way I fly to you. I'm still in a dream, snake eater. Someday you go through the rain, and someday you feel on a tree fall. It's so deep the try to survive for the day we see the light. I give my life not for honor, but for you. In my time, there'll be no one else. Cry is the way I fly to you. I'm still in a dream, snake eater. I'm still in a dream, snake eater. The end boss fight is gonna be so cool when the remake comes out. Oh my god. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Yeah, I'm sorry for the last one. Let's move on. You really, and I mean really, just had to be there. Just had to be there. San Andreas was like a moment in life, in history. Just thinking about how droves of kids were in GameStop and EB Games, for the two of you that remember EB Games, trying to buy this game and being sent away because we were too young, and we finally had got the game with the physical map, and our mind was just blown by how big it was. And oh my god, the game did not let me down when I actually started to play it. The story is so expansive, full of twists and turns and new locales, with so much to do. So much for an early 2000s PS2 game, so much. And there are so many varied locations to visit that reference places like Vegas and Los Angeles. There's the countryside and the forest, the desert. There was just so much in one game, and it's unbelievable. They're able to fit so much detail in one game, along with 38 different weapons you can use and 212 different vehicles that you can ride, ranging from cars to bikes to motorcycles to planes and boats to goddamn jetpacks. And then there's the cheats with the infamous beep sound effect with the simple yet tasteful cheat activated box. Can we please get goofy game breaking cheat codes back in games like nowadays, in modern games? I used to love getting a low rider and using the flying car cheat code, which is square down L2 up L1 circle up X left, of course, you know, he's so yam and all that, and flying all the way from Los Santos to Los Venturas and immediately getting the 4 stars. Please take me back. Come on, this game is the best. It's just iconic. The dialogue, the memes, all of it. Come on, dog. Don't get me started with this. I'll have 2 number 9s, a number 9 large, a number 6 with extra dip, a number 7, 2 number 45s, 1 with cheese, and a large soda. Iconic. Hey, excuse me, Jose. Yo soy el grando smokio. Iconic. So coffee-o up el guido before I blow your brain all over the patio. Iconic. This game is goated. There's nothing that this game doesn't have. It's the best. And it still holds up today. If this game came out tomorrow, it would still be a top 10 game of the year. Full stop. I didn't even mention the most iconic line in the game. A line so popular that it's still used today by teens and such who have never even played, let alone seen this game before. What are we talking about? It's one of the greatest games of all time, and it's number 2 on my list. And here we are, my number 1 game of all time. I hope you all enjoyed the list. I have no idea how this video is going to do. It's probably going to bomb. It's most definitely way too long. But hey, it's nice to have something, you know, a little bit different. And maybe I'll do a top 10 bosses or something next time. Anywho, what's your 10 favorite games of all time? Or what is your singular all-time favorite video game regardless of system, era, of any of that? Because I'd love to know. Well, in any case, here's mine. Number 1, my favorite game of all time, Bloodborne. Deep breath. I've beaten this game, new game plus, 14 times. Maybe more. I beat it so many times, it's probably more to be honest. 14 times. DLC all the time. No childish dungeon. Always one of the first 3 weapons. 14 times. This game is special. To the point where words really won't do it justice. It's just special. The uniqueness of the weapon and the trick transform mechanics with the weapons. The bosses, the level design, the sound design, the lore, it's just special. There was nothing that this game didn't intend to do that it didn't completely excel at. Like, where do I start? You're a hunter in the Victorian city of Yarnum, sent to hunt down a beast terrorizing the city, with those beasts ranging from zombified townsfolk to giant monster pigs to werewolves. But as the story progresses, you realize that not everything is what it seems. It's already terrible, but really it's much worse. And you uncover the secrets of the world and how things came to be, and what portion of this the humans involved had to play in all of this. And in your search of knowledge, you come up against Lovecraftian monsters, space aliens, and actual deities, and the various factions and religions that worship them and are also going crazy in their own pursuit of knowledge. So much happens in this story if you choose to seek it out. You know, it's a From Software thing. But hey, maybe you just want to pit yourself into some tough, visceral battles with gods, and all you have is your serrated meat cleaver. The blade you use to cut ribs with is kind of rusty, kind of jagged, and you're going to go fight God with it. You know how it goes. And the sound design of this weapon, or really all the weapons, actual perfection. The sound of the jagged blades ripping through flesh and tissue with blood splattering everywhere, and the uniqueness of the weapons and extra forms you can use. Man, this is the best From Software game. I honestly cannot be debated otherwise. Just can't. It's more streamlined than Elden Ring, and all of the bosses, even the hard ones, more streamlined. They're much more fair and rewarding to beat, honestly. And if you come for the exciting bosses and varied weapons, you can stay for the deep and mysterious lore and expensive world building. This game, maybe not perfect, but in my brain it is. It also holds a sentimental value to me, Because I remember going to work and hating my job, right? No, I love my current job now. It's the best. But I hated going to work back then. Miserable. But I needed something to do to get my mind off of going to work and just thinking about how much I hated and how I was wasting time going. So I finally started to play this game. And it gave me something to set and achieve that was non-work related. That was unrelated to everything else going in life at that moment. I could just play Bloodborne and suck at it and fail and suck and fail and suck and fail. And eventually, you break that barrier and you figure it all out. You're like, okay, I can suck at something and be good and succeed. You know, it's how life is, baby. Bloodborne teaches you that. I had a whole 20-minute video on just this phenomenon by itself. So even without my own personal things that Bloodborne helped me get over, with that, it's number one all time. Without that, it's still number one all time. Play this goddamn game. It's great. Frame rate's ass, but it's great. It's probably the best starter Souls game, and it's my favorite game of all time. So, it's my favorite, this week. And well, at least until Grand Theft Auto 6 comes down from heaven and blesses us from God's heavenly bosom. If Grand Theft Auto 6 ever comes out. But yeah, until then, it's Bloodborne. So, the video is too long, but thanks for watching it. Really, thank you. All 4 of you. I might do another one of these. I don't know. Tell me what you think. Like and subscribe. Tell me that you hate it. Tell me that you love it. Did you guys see the Venture Bros movie? Why didn't I do a video on it after doing a video on the actual show? Whatever. Do you guys like Shadow of the Colossus? If not, I totally get why. It is the best game ever that's impossible to sell to people. But yeah, video over. Go home. I still don't know why y'all watch my videos. I really don't. All my videos are trash. Nonetheless, if you're one of the 5 people who make it this far into the video, thank you for watching. I love y'all. Keep supporting. Unless you don't want to. Goodbye.